Hi, I'm Carol Chomsky, a professor of law at the University of Minnesota Law School and co-author of Contracts, A Contemporary Approach.
Hi, I'm Christina Kunz, professor of law at William Mitchell College of Law. I'm co-author of Contracts, A Contemporary Approach. We tried to think carefully about graphical elements in this book. It's easy to overdo color, easy to overdo fonts and other things, and we tried to make it so that each different aspect of the book was clearly delineated. So for instance, the problems have blue bars on either side of them. So it's really easy to see when you've left the case or left the restatement provisions and gone into the problems.
And we've also been able to incorporate links to which are live if someone is using it in the online version, or it invites them to go and look for them, and it's pretty easy to find. YouTube videos, there's the Julia Child chicken video that is quite funny, and students, teachers might show that to students, or students are just invited to follow those links.
We've also tried to include a lot of flowcharts that help students figure out where they are in the general scheme of offer, acceptance, counteroffer, rejection, revocation, and sometimes even with little blue boxes that say you are here, basically. And we've tried to sort of honor that learning style in the places where it's really useful, so that we encourage students to go into it in that direction.
A prime thing, something you notice right away in looking at the book, is the color. It's not a lot of color, but the fact that it's not all just black and white, that it's not just print on a page, that there are these boxes of that catch your eye as you're reading, and I think catch students' eyes as they're reading. And it's a very inviting physical look to the book that really distinguishes it from everything else other than the other books in this series.
It also, the questions in the boxes allow you to place questions exactly at the right place in the text when the student is reading. And so then the students have a chance to think about questions that we've thought about for a couple years or even a couple decades for the cases we're familiar with. And students now have a chance to at least think about the same question overnight. And so they're coming into class prepped on things, having thought about things more deeply than they would have thought about them in other textbooks that I've taught. We also added in these questions that are in the reading literature called pre-reading questions. And they're called, we call them reading the law critically. And they occur before every case or group of cases that are related, or even reading statutory or other codified material like restatements. And they ask students to always think through the following items by the time they're done reading the case or by the time they're done reading the codified material. And it means that the students are reading with a focus to their reading.
We spent quite a lot of time in preparing the book looking for good cases to include. Certainly, we've each used a number of different textbooks, and there are some terrific cases that appear in many of the case books, and we have many of those same cases that are good. But we wanted to both look for newer cases, more modern cases that bring modern contract problems to the fore rather than just including so many classic cases that are interesting and fun but not necessarily focused on real modern contract issues. And then also looking for cases that would teach well, either because the facts are particularly evocative and useful and rich, or because the judges have explained a doctrine either reasonably well or poorly in a way that makes it a good teaching case.
We've written a really extensive teacher's manual for this book. We really feel that for the first-time teacher of the book or somebody who's early in their contracts teaching career, really thorough answers help, and especially with the number of questions that we've got in the book. So every one of the reading the law critically questions at the beginning of a case or group of cases or codified material is all of those questions are answered. And then also each one of the boxes is addressed in terms of what the food for thought question on page 434 might say, or what things might be brought up in class if you're doing the think about it exercise that's sort of put at the end of the case. And then, of course, there are answers to all of the problems and any related case material that we might have drawn it from and how closely we followed those facts. One of the really great things about this book is watching how students have reacted to it, even when it was in manuscript form and the text boxes were still down in little footnotes in the manuscript. Students were so supportive of it and saying how much more helpful it was than other textbook formats that they were working with. And then once we published it, oh my goodness, it was like, you know, students had sort of finally hit the law school textbook that they had always wanted to learn from. Students from other classes that I didn't even teach would meet me and say, oh, we love your textbook. And then at the end of last year, I think the highest compliment was that my research assistants told me that the class had generally sold back most of their textbooks as used books, but they had mostly kept the contracts textbook because they liked it so well and wanted to be able to refer back to it and remember it. And I just took that as the highest compliment. It was really a wonderful thing to hear.